See, this is working. Hello, hello, hello. And I believe that it is. I believe that we're here for another Ring of Honor TV review, episode number 116 to be exact. And it's a Friday upload because this episode of Ring of Honor happened on a Thursday, which very much went the opposite route. I was like, because last week it was uploaded Friday. I was like, oh, I would expect this for the next month or so. They're like, nope, you're wrong, AHS. It's going to be a normal schedule next week. So I am very much expected it to be the opposite of whatever I say and or think. But grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. So that the upload or the review could be uploaded, obviously. That being said, and me spreading false hope / propaganda, this was a shorter episode of Ring of Honor, which we've been getting the past couple of weeks. I anticipate that next week's episode will be the same because it's Double or Nothing week. It's also a holiday weekend. I'm not expecting next week's episode to be that crazy. If it is, I'll be here to cover it and would be enjoyable. That being said, this is me hoping and suggesting / begging, kind of. Hopefully after next week, things really pick up because then we're really already on the road to Supercard of Honor. But at that point, All In's next, Supercard of Honor, same weekend. Let's start building up things and hyping up things for that event to happen. But I've already kind of mentioned it here that this week's episode was nothing that crazy. 50-minute episode. We did get some interesting tidbits that I will be going through now as we're here to go through the 116th episode of Ring of Honor on Honor Club with the opening contest being Wheeler Yuta versus Matt Mako, who is a former MMA fighter that they even noted competed in Bellator. Now, I'll be the asshole and say I've never seen him fight. I guess that's what I'll be researching and going and looking into next, but I'd kind of miss Bellator MMA, but that's besides the point. Yuta versus Mako. We get a technical start, including an armbar by Mako. Then this is reversed into an India Deathlock by Yuta, who gives the crowd a pair of middle fingers. Mako lands a pair of spinning kicks, a butterfly suplex, and a chaos theory that he turns into an armbar, but Yuta scratches his eyes to get out of it. Then he lands the Busaiku knee and applies the counter mutilation to win this matchup. You know, I can't really call this a squash match because it was kind of back and forth. So I do appreciate both men doing that, and I did appreciate the approach that they gave in this match. I enjoyed this matchup. Now, something that is going to also be very technical. I'm a little confused by it, but we had a video package promoting Josh Woods and Tom Lawler as they have a match next weekend at the Dean Tribute Show, which is in Arizona. So and AEW is co-promoting this event, so I don't know how far away it is from Double or Nothing because Double or Nothing is also in Arizona, but I imagine that the two are connected. But the video package, we're talking about the similarities that both men had because they both went to UCF and trained under the same people and both have extensive combat sports resumes. So it kind of builds up their bout for next weekend. So that was interesting. I'll at least give them credit because they put a lot of work into this, and it was interesting enough to note. Next matchup, Trish Adora versus Rachel Ellering, as the commentators noted that these could be two competitors in the Pure Title tournament coming up, which when I was talking about things to hype up and get interested in with Supercard of Honor, this is one of the main factors and kind of the main thing, like making this Pure Title tournament interesting, which I imagine the tournament itself will be good. The aftermath of it will be very determined, like TBD, because I don't really know if we need 3 women's championships in Ring of Honor, and in hindsight, it's a bit insane that AEW only has 2. So that's going to be very TBD. down the line. But Adora and Ellering right here had an aggressive tie-up to start the matchup off, with Adora targeting the right arm of Ellering, hitting a fisherwoman suplex that gets a 2 count, and the lariat Tubman that ended the matchup. Now, someone that kinda was agreeing with the sentiment that I was just promoting was Red Velvet. And she does not know why everybody is caring and talk about this women's pure title. Consider there's not even a champion yet, and she's a champion that is showing up and showing out almost on a weekly basis. And she's going to continue to defend her television championship and even do so in Mexico as she's a part of the AEW event and several other Mexico-related wrestling events down the line. So, like I said, a sentiment that I could get behind. As the next matchup is the Frat House versus the Dark Order, a matchup that has been brewing for weeks, as the Dark Order do not appreciate that Preston Vance has aligned himself with the Frat House, and Preston Vance is very much just telling them, hey, I don't really care what you think. So we do get a hype package talking about, it wasn't really for this match, it was very much more so showing what the Frat House is all about, and essentially it's just partying and wrestling occasionally. But Carter and Reynolds start the matchup off. We get a double neck breaker by the Dark Order early, but Uno gets tripped up by Carter while he is on the outside. Reynolds back in later lands a double foot stop, and he and Uno land a Gore special into a code breaker, but the referee gets distracted by Jack Jameson. That's kind of, I think that might be an actual person, but Jack Jameson is the manager here, and he distracts the referee as Preston Vance is able to get into the ring and land a lariat on Uno that Garrison gets the pin on afterwards, and the Frat House pick up the victory as we get a massive 8-man tag in the main event. The MxM collection just will not let go of the Ring of Honor tag team and 6-man tag team titles. Their hatred for these group of men still live on, and they're aligning with the Premier Athletes this week. So the MxM collection and the Premier Athletes versus the Sons of Texas and the Von Erichs. Dustin Rhodes is teaming with all of his tag team champion partners right now, which is a pretty cool flex. Now, the Sons of Texas have a very important number 1 contenders match on Collision, which I'll get into in a couple of moments. Let's talk about this 8-man tag first of all. Marshall and Davaris start the matchup off, with Marshall immediately getting trapped in his opponent's corner. Once Dustin tags in, he is able to take on both Premier Athletes, including a crossroads that leads to all 8-men getting involved after the pinfall is broken up. MxM land a powerbomb neckbreaker on Sammy, with Dustin landing the Shattered Dreams on Mark Sterling. You know, the referee really can't disqualify him or be distracted because Mark Sterling's not even involved in the in-ring competition, but his man area is damaged. Dustin is also able to land a Canadian Destroyer on Mason Madden, and we get a double Iron Claw onto both the Premier Athletes as the Sons of Texas and Von Erichs pick up the victory as Crew, Leo Rush, and Action Andretti come out afterwards and get face-to-face with the Sons of Texas, which that is the big number 1 contenders match this weekend on Collision, with the winners of that match facing Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley at Double or Nothing. Now, wishful thinking here. Wishful thinking. I'd love it the Hurt Syndicate won, and it was a title. Look, I'm not going to spoil it for y'all because I don't know who wins, but yeah, I would imagine and suggest and think the Sons of Texas should win this, considering them losing would kind of make the Ring of Honor tag titles look, in quote, weak, IMO. Losing to another team and then, you know, oh, we're supposed to just go back to these other tag titles I have, etc. But I would love if they did a title unification. That's my suggestion I'm going to throw out. And I'm only going to say that way I can hope and think that Shelton and Bobby and MVP and MJF can show up on ROH TV, which maybe I already know that I'm thinking too far ahead and shit that's not going to happen, considering that I'm going to throw this at y'all and see if y'all remember. Remember when MJF was 1/2 of the Ring of Honor Tag Champions in Better Than You, Baby? And fun fact, never showed up on ROH TV because this is during the course of the Honor Club, and I've been here reviewing all 116 episodes. This is just me ranting about shit that I obviously can't go back in time and change, but this is a very quick episode of Ring of Honor on Honor Club, and I, again, should be here for next week to review that episode as well. So it's a very light week on the channel, as I mentioned in my video that I filmed already this week. Cheap plug, Death Before Dishonor 2022 retro review. Had a lot of fun making that video, so hopefully y'all check that out. But allergies, I mentioned in that video, allergies have been whooping my ass as of usual, so it's kind of an excuse. I was in very poor condition to be filming, and I didn't really have anything else to film. So I'm just trying to waste time to see if this matchup ends, but these two teams are in an intensive brawl. So if y'all want to know who wins, comment it down below as we get a code red by Dustin. But if y'all want to know who wins, comment it down below, and I'll let y'all know. So I'll see y'all when I see y'all. I'm out for now. Check out that Death Before Dishonor 2023 retro review. I'll see you when I see you, because I'm out for now. Goodbye.